Hey, I'm Carson. This is my 2019 Mazda Miata. I've been daily driving this car for over a year, over 10,000 miles, and I'd like to tell you about it. But before I tell you too much more, let me show you. So now that we're in the car, let's talk about this review. What it is, what it isn't, and we'll get right into it. So this review will not be, a regurgitations of the specs of this car. If you want that, you can Google it, and there's plenty of reviews out there that show it. What this review is going to be is it's going to be a look at the good, the bad, the ugly of what it's been like to own this car for the past year. And could you potentially have this car as your one and only car? So, getting right into it, what's good about this car? There is a lot good about this car. Spoiler alert. This car is mostly good, hence why I still love it after a year. And the first thing to say is probably the most obvious. The best thing about this car is the way it drives. This car is an excellent driver's car. It's extremely nimble in handling. It accelerates quick. It's light around corners. And all in all, it's a very rewarding car to drive. It's not one of those cars where they just put in heaps of power and then call it a sport model and then send you on your way. This car is designed from the ground up to be a car that is thrilling to drive. Lower configurations have the same exact engine as this car, which is pretty rare for a car in kind of the sports segment. If you look at like Mustangs or your typical muscle cars, you'll find 5 or 6 engines available in a car. Not with this one. This is the only engine you get. They put it in every single model because first things first, this car is a car you're supposed to drive. And everything stems up from, everything comes up from that. The suspension, the steering column, everything about this car is designed to give you the best possible experience to drive. So that is the number one good thing about it, and honestly that alone is the qualifying reason you should buy this car. However, there are other benefits, especially looking at this car from an ownership perspective of if you're going to own this car, what do you like about it? And the second thing is that it's actually surprisingly practical. And that's mostly specific to my needs. Your mileage may vary, but this car does exactly what I need it to. So I am a 20-something-year-old, man in a relationship. So at most, all I ever need to take is one other person in most days. It's got a trunk that's big enough for my needs. It's got decent gas mileage. It's cheap to insure, and all around it's a practical car for my needs. So let's break that down a bit more. Like, let's go back to the trunk. The trunk is not huge, but it's big enough. Tossing in a backpack, going to work, or even if you need to take a medium-sized suitcase for a long weekend, it's totally fine. Now, if you're packing for a month, you're gonna find some issue with the storage, and that's totally okay. For my needs, and for most people's needs, I think it's more than adequate. I mentioned gas mileage. Obviously, being a daily driver, commuting is the primary use of this car. And averaging right now, I'm getting about 36 miles to the gallon, which I'm actually pretty happy with. Obviously, there's better cars out there, but from a sports car perspective, this is probably the best you're gonna get, and it's actually quite nice. So this car does recommend you get premium, and I do. So getting extra miles out of the tank is a really, really good way to save money. Past efficiency, there are other practical aspects of this car. It's a Mazda. It's cheap to insure. It actually does not cost any more than a Honda Civic or any of the other great commuter cars. It's a very practical from the perspective of cost. So you know, buying this car, you know, you can buy this car for, this one spec'd out as it is I picked it up for under $32,000, and this car is it's completely loaded. It has essentially every factory option you could get. The third thing I really like about this car, obviously it's a convertible. Every single Mazda comes as a convertible. Now, this is maybe a polarizing opinion. Some people like convertibles, some people don't. Obviously, Miatas, it comes in a soft top or a retractable hard top. This is the RF version, but they are all convertibles. So if convertibles are your thing, this is definitely a car to consider. Soft top versus hard top, that may come to a question of, you know, preference. It is an expensive option. The option for a hard top in this car, I believe, is like a $7,000 option. So if it doesn't matter to you, you can save quite a bit of money by going with the soft top version. The soft top version also goes down and up a lot easier. You just unlatch it and throw it back, as opposed to this, you have to hold down the button, and it takes a few seconds. One of the last things I really like about this car is also another surprising one, creature comforts. Although it's a small car, I found that it's a relatively comfortable car to ride around it. The seats are nice, soft leather, they're very comfortable, they also come heated. It's relatively ergonomic in here. I found that it's a comfortable sitting position. It's upright, but it's not like really cramped or anything like that. One of the other things about the creature comforts in this car is actually the air conditioning is quite good. And since this cabin is so small, it cools down or heats up in a really quick period of time. So you won't ever find yourself sweating too bad on hot days or freezing to death in the fall or the winter. And with that, we should start moving into the cons of this car, because there are some cons. Going back to, namely, the air conditioning. One of the things I said that I love about this car, and I'll try to show you if I can, but the air conditioning vents let out right onto my hands. I mean, they couldn't be pointing less away from the rest of my body. And that's one of the problems of having this cramped interior, is it doesn't give you a lot of space to space these vents out. Now, if I'm riding by myself, I can kind of use the passenger vents to point towards me, and that works pretty well. But if you have a passenger, then you're kind of out of luck. You know, I'm not sure they want you stealing their vents. The second thing that's kind of a drawback of this car is also one of the good things about it, the size. The size that makes it so nimble and rather zippy makes it kind of a turnoff for a lot of people. I'm relatively short, I'm 5'7", and as you can see, there's not a whole lot of space for me. Now, I'm also relatively well proportioned. I don't have a particularly long legs or torso in relation to the rest of me. So if I had a longer torso, I might be running into some problems here. Consequently, if my legs were much longer, I'd also be running to the steering wheel. It's pretty low. So if you're, you know, 5'11" or taller, you might actually not be able to fit in this car, regardless of how much you like it. Now, there's a bit of a footnote here. If you get the soft top version, it does give you a little bit more headroom, just because you don't have the full thickness of the roof sitting there. However, it's not going to get you that much extra space. You know, if you're 6 foot tall, you're probably going to not enjoy your time in this car. It will be a bit cramped. The other thing about the size means you're kind of limited in storage space, not only for the trunk, but inside the car as well. This car doesn't come with a traditional glove box. As you can see, there's a little box behind me between the seats, but that is all the storage you get in this interior, just that. And it's a decent size, but if you're looking to, you know, stick other things in your glove box, you're not gonna have a lot of space to do that. And the other thing is, the access is kind of hard. You can't just reach down like you would in any other car. You can't really reach behind you and finagle it. You can't really open it without having to turn completely around. And that's okay. Typically, I don't need to access my glove box, but that is something you're gonna have to live with. One small gripe about this car is that the doors are a bit long. Now, that may seem like kind of a strange gripe, but because this car is so low, you kind of need a longer door to get in and out of it. But the issue that makes is, in a crowded parking lot, it is kind of hard to, get the door open up for you to squeeze inside. So that is a bit of a nitpick, but if you're on the taller end of the spectrum of people that could fit in this car, that is a bit of a concern, because you obviously have to finagle your way in and out of this car quite frequently, and having that be harder than what feels necessary. I'm not sure what Mazda could potentially do to fix that. To be honest, I don't think there is a fix that would be possible. However, it is a notable gripe that you will have to live with. The third thing about this car that some people may not like, and this may be a bit of a hot take, but from a commuter perspective, the drone that you get is a little bit annoying. Now, I happen to like the engine note in this car, and when I'm driving it more aggressively, I love the sound. But if I'm on the highway just plugging away at 75 miles per hour, the engine hovers about 3,500 RPM, and if you're in that, if you're driving for hours and hours, that drone can get a little bit on your nerves. Now, this is a relatively quiet cabin interior compared to some cars, but they actually pipe in the engine noise, so it's kind of hard to get away from sometimes. Saving the best, the worst issue for last, this car is kind of lacking in modern features. Now, this is a driver's car. People, aren't expecting to have, autopilot in this car or anything like that. But there are a few creature comforts that this car is notably missing from its competition. The fact that this is a loaded car, it has pretty much every option, and they're kind of avoiding things like ventilated seats. It is a bit of a, a bummer. That's something I see in like the Honda Accord for roughly the same price, or actually even a little cheaper in some cases, some specs. Another feature this car is missing is radar guided cruise control. A lot of cars come with that these days, and it is kind of surprising to see it missing from this car. And I don't believe any, I'm not sure if it's an issue related to the manual transmission, or if it's related to if Mazda offers it in other cars, but it is something you see in a lot of competitors of this car, and it's surprising you don't see it here. Now you can get to other features like a better sat navigation screen or a bigger screen, but it may look a bit out of place in this relatively small interior. This car does have things like lane keep assist, but it's not one of the manual or one of the automatic ones that actually kind of grabs the wheel, which personally I like, but that is a feature that this car is missing that a lot of the competition has. Now, when we take all these things together, how is this car, as the daily driver, as the only car you own, how does it do? How does it perform? And overall, I love it. This is, I think, is one, it makes the daily drive, the daily commute, something to look forward to. It's a really fun way to spend your time, an otherwise just monotonous commute. But having this as your only car does come with considerable problems. Like I mentioned, there's only 2 seats. That is a problem that you have to live with. If you have a larger family, or you want to go out with the friends, this isn't a car you can take. This isn't a car you can enjoy with them. So we just got home, and I wanted to just take a second while I'm sitting here parked to just kind of wrap this up a little bit. So we've kind of gone over the car, what's good, what's bad. And what I want to talk to you about now is, how is this car truly as a daily driver? How is it really as the only car I own? And to no surprise to anyone, I think it's great. I think it's a great daily driver. I think you could totally deal with this car. It's a fantastic experience to be able to drive this car every day. However, what it really comes down to in this car is, can you live with the small size? One, can you live with the lack of passenger accommodation? 2, and can you live with this thing year-round from a weather perspective? So, trunk size, that's something you can figure out pretty easily. Are you the type to do big DIY projects that involves getting lumber from the hardware store? Yes, no, easy enough. Passenger accommodation, less of a problem, because that's kind of, you can usually borrow a friend's car. It's more of just an inconvenience that you can't take your own car. The big one for me is, can you truly live with this car as your daily driver in the winter, if you live in a place that has winter, or in poor weather conditions, or what have you. And for people in Indiana, Midwest, the primary thing is snow. We deal with a lot of snow. Some winters we get, winter storms that bring as much as 6 inches of snow in just a couple of hours. If you can live with that, that's a pretty big thing. That's a pretty easy choice to make, that yes, you can absolutely daily this car. For me, I have a job that I can stay home if I need to. Like, if the weather's really bad and there's a bunch of snow, I can work from home. I can work from my laptop. I can set up shop in my own office, and it's no problem. But if you work, in maybe, let's say, construction, or you work in medicine, or you work you know, like maybe you're a police officer and you need to be able to get to work, this might not be a car that can work for you. Now, if you're just, you know, Joe Schmo in the office, you might be able to get around that. So if you can get around, you know, the sports car nature of this, and you can use this in a practical way, this is such a rewarding daily driver to have. It takes the mundane and makes it something to look forward to, I think. Your daily commutes, your drive to the grocery, going out to visit your parents or your friends or what have you. It just makes them truly rewarding experience. And with that, that's the video. That's the review. And I hope you enjoyed it. I know I certainly have enjoyed the last year getting to know this car better and living with it. So if you liked it, go ahead and drop me a like. And if you have any other great recommendations for daily drive sports cars, drop in the comments. Let's get a dialogue going about that. And I guess I'll be seeing you guys next time. Take care.